Where are Canadians buying homes outside of Canada, and why are they buying homes outside of Canada? Well, in this video, we're going to go through a Realtor.ca article that shows us exactly where Canadians are buying outside of Canada and the reasons why they're buying outside of Canada. And make sure you stay until the end, because I think the amount of money Canadians are spending on homes outside of Canada is going to shock you. So let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvanandan. I'm a real estate agent and investor here in Toronto and the GTA, and I think we should just get straight to the article. Okay, so I am going to link to two articles in my video. The first article is what we're going to go through, and it's from Realtor.ca, and the name of the article is Where Canadians Are Buying Internationally. I'm also going to link up to this article from NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, which is the organization that heads up the US, and they did a recent report called 2022 International Transactions in US Residential Real Estate. Now, if you are actually thinking about buying property in the US, this is a great article for you to reference because it talks about international buyers, who they are, what they're buying. They do comparisons between, prices between different countries and why people are coming here. It's pretty in-depth, and I think it's a great reference for somebody who is actually thinking about buying in the US. So with that, let's get straight to this article and cover off what they say. So where are Canadians buying internationally? This article, the first few paragraphs really talks about the fact that Canadians, we like to travel, and we like to travel for vacations. So whether that be going to a cottage or flying internationally, that's what we like to do. So when they looked at why Canadians buy properties outside of Canada, the number one reason was as a vacation home. And in fact, they start to quote a NAR article, the article that I linked to, and it says that 58% of Canadians who purchase homes in the US are buying it as a vacation property, which is significantly higher than other foreign buyers in the US. So they talk about the fact that, in countries like Brazil, it's only 15% versus 58% for Canada, and in Mexico, it's 8%. So basically they're saying Canadians, 58% buy it as a vacation home, then 11% buy it as a residential rental, and then 16% buy it as a primary residence. So those are the reasons why they buy it. So what are they looking for? So what are Canadians looking for when they're looking at buying another property? Well, the number one thing is location. And when you look at location right now, the Americas is the most popular with Canadians. So 76% of purchases are in the Americas, followed by Asia at 13%, and then Europe at 11%. Now, when you look at the Americas and look at that 76%, 39% of it is in the US. So by far the place that we buy property outside of Canada is the US. Now when you look at that US number, we can further break it down, and there's 4 states that make up the US number. It's Florida, Texas, Arizona, and California. So if we look at the numbers more in depth, you'll see that Florida is 71% and Texas is 11% of purchases, and that's up significantly. And then Arizona is 5% and California is 3% of the 2021 purchases. And again, Arizona and California went down while Texas and Florida went up. And I have a lot of friends throughout the US that are realtors, and this is a big trend that happened, especially during COVID. So people started to move out of expensive places like California and New York, and we're looking at places like Florida and Texas for a few reasons. First of all, you can work anywhere you wanted during COVID. Second of all, those places are much more affordable. And then third, there was a tax benefit to moving to either Florida or Texas. So because of that, Florida and Texas saw a huge migration of people coming in. The other places that make up the most popular places for Canadians to purchase are Mexico and Costa Rica. Now, the interesting thing about Mexico and Costa Rica in 2021 is they both more than doubled the amount of Canadians buying, and that's at 12%. So they're both at 12% right now. Versus in 2020, they were at 4% for Costa Rica and 5% for Mexico. So they've both grown, which really shows that Canadians are starting to look outside of the US and starting to expand where they would buy a property. And then finally, the other places that Canadians bought, Dominican Republic was 5%, Portugal was 5%, and Bahamas was 4%. So that's what they were looking at as far as location. Now, the other things that they were considering when Canadians were buying outside of Canada is, time out of Canada. They were looking at things for time out of Canada because it affects your taxes and it also affects your health care. They were looking at ease of access to the second property through direct flights because that's a big consideration, especially if this is something you're doing a lot. And then also ownership security. So ownership security is really about the fact that they want to make sure that they're buying property in a country where the ownership is going to be secure and the government's stable and they're not going to lose their money if they buy there. And then finally, they said that if there was a Canadian immigrant that was buying outside of Canada, they were often buying in their home countries. So that's what they were looking for as far as location. So what were they looking for when it came to the actual house? If you're finding value in these videos, please like and subscribe, and more importantly, comment. If you don't agree with something, I'd love to hear it. And if you agree, I'd love to hear it too. Your comments and your likes really let us know what kind of videos you're interested in seeing. And if you have any real estate needs here in Toronto, the GTA, or anywhere in the world, please let me know. I have agent friends throughout the world and I'm happy to refer them to you. And of course, if you have any needs in Toronto or the GTA, we'll be sure to take care of you. So call, text, email, or WhatsApp, or if you want to talk to me directly, I'll put my calendar link below. So what kind of homes are people looking for? Are Canadians looking for detached, condos, townhouses? Well, basically what the next few paragraphs talk about is the fact that the type of home is really going to be determined by the area that you're looking at and your price point. So for example, if you're looking at a place that's beachfront, it might just be lined up with condos, so a detached home isn't even a possibility. So that's what I mean by it's going to be determined by the areas that you're looked at. So that said, there are definitely some trends. 42% of home purchases in 2021 were detached homes, which is down slightly. And then 35% of purchases were condos, which is up slightly. So there is some patterning there. The other thing that they're noticing is that people are looking for slightly larger spaces. So somebody may have been okay with a vacation home that looked more like a hotel room before COVID, but now since COVID, people are looking for something slightly bigger, something maybe with a workspace that they could close off if they did need to work from home. So that's the type of homes that they're looking for. How much are they paying? So what are Canadians spending? Well, the numbers that they're quoting in this article is from NAR. Again, NAR is the National Association of Realtors out of the US, and the numbers are from that report. So the report says the median home price purchased by a Canadian in the US, as reported by NAR, was $416,000 USD in 2022, which is up slightly from $400,000 in 2021. But the big difference is from 2020, where the median home price was $292,000, and in 2019, where the median home price was $268,000. So for as much as we've seen a huge increase in home prices in Canada and in Toronto, the US went through the same thing. So it'll be also interesting to see what happens in the US as the markets have started to change. And so by the end of the year, we'll have a real clear picture on what's happening in the US as far as pricing goes too. The other thing that they mentioned in this article, and this is probably the biggest surprise to me, was that in 2022, Canadians spent $5.5 billion USD on existing home sales in the US. Now, if we take that $5.5 billion and extrapolate it and say that that accounts for 40% of the overall purchases of Canadians outside of the Canada, we're talking about $14 billion. So $14 billion is what Canadians are spending on homes outside of Canada, which I thought was really interesting and a bit surprising. Now, when you look at the volume of homes in the US, you're going to see a major trend that is noteworthy. In 2019 and 2020, there was about 20,000 homes that were being purchased by Canadians. And that number dropped significantly in 2021 to 8,800. And then it rose again slightly in 2022 to 11,300. And I think that trend really reflects what happened with COVID. I think 2019 and 2020, people had already purchased those homes and were already active in that process. And then we brought in all the restrictions and the travel restrictions. And so you saw a huge drop in 2021. And then now we're building it back up. But I do think that there is a trend that you're going to see that more and more homes will be purchased outside of the US as far as second homes go, especially when it comes to Canadians, because there's a couple of things that are going on. First of all, the Canadian dollar against the US dollar is not very strong. Second of all, the home purchases in the US have gone up just as much as Canada. And then third, and probably the most important thing, is that Canadians are starting to discover other areas that may be more affordable and just as accessible. That said, the US will continue to be our strongest area just because of ease and convenience. But that said, you're going to see other areas start to grow as well. So that's it. If you have any questions, or if you need a realtor in anywhere in the US, let me know. I have friends throughout the US. I also have agent friends throughout the world. I have a friend in Portugal. So if you have any real estate needs here in Toronto, the GTA, or anywhere in the world, please get in contact with us. You can call, text, email, or WhatsApp, and we'll be sure to take care of you. And if you want to just have a conversation with me, I'll put my calendar link below. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.